Sunny ways, my friends. Sunny ways.
Your 16 seconds are up. I'm going to ask you again because nobody believes you when you say you don't know how much money your family has got from the wheat group. You've had a month to look into that. You knew you were going to testify here. Again, how much money total have your brother, mother, and spouse received from this organization? How much?
That information has been publicly shared, but I will highlight.
Well, then tell me what it is.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
We have recently switched to drinking water bottles out of water out of when we have water bottles out of plastic. Away from plastic towards paper, like drink box water bottles sort of thing. Sorry?
The servicing costs on the debt that you're going to have to carry, that you're adding to now, right?
Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn.
Where's the funds?
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean? Oh, Justin, you're awake. You made it. Have a seat. Have a coffee. You need some. Wakey time.
Let's cut that Disney Plus subscription. So we cut it. It's only $13.99 a month that we're saving, but every little bit helps.
A lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but...
Like who?
I don't know who, but...
Well, you're the one who asked the question, so
yeah.
You must know somebody. Yeah, that's all that's coming off. There's nothing else coming off, yeah. I'm not Justin Trudeau here.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Friday Night Fringe. I hope you're having a lovely end of your week as you join us here on the channel. Get your LFGs in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Let's freaking go. Here we go tonight talking about the election interference and why this spells big trouble for Canada. Of course, my favorite time of the week, my favorite time to see each and every one of you out here in the chat getting your words in. I'm going to try my best tonight to focus on the chat because usually we get onto rants and I just lose track of things, trying to keep you guys entertained, informed, but let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get this moving. Let's start it off with the usual roll call tonight. Let's do our usual traditions here on the stream. Chime in. Let me know if it's your first time joining us. Tell me where you're watching from, and let's see if we can get somebody from every province in the country joining us here on our large Fringe majority tonight. Again, I'll try to get to everybody, but of course, we've already got 150 wonderful large Fringe majority people in here, and I want to make sure we try to get to as many as we can. So let's get it started. Daphne Devine joining in. LFG, I made it. Let's go. We got Connie coming in from Winnipeg. Great to see you in here. We've got, who else do we got? I'm going to catch up real quick here. We got Alice coming in. Midland, Ontario. Welcome into the stream. We got Terrence coming in from Calgary. Welcome into the stream. Let's see who else we've got here. I've got a lot of highs in the chat. I got Princess Thickness coming in with the high with the 4 eyes. I don't know what those eyes entail, but let me tell you something. I got on her back the other day because she only gave me 1 eye in the chats. But welcome in. It's great to see you here in the stream. Lisa coming. Good evening from Wacko, Blind Bay, BC. Welcome into the stream. We're going to talk about wackos tonight. So, or Justin Wacko, as I call him. We're getting moving. Angela coming in from Martok, Nova Scotia. Welcome in. Tammy coming in. Elliott Lake, Ontario. Great to see you in here. Blackface Son of Castro, Windsor, Nova Scotia. Great to have you in here. Mike TV coming in. We're here for epic Derek rants. We're gonna not Diagolon Derek rants, but we're gonna get my rants tonight here on the channel. Great to see you, Mike. Welcome into the stream. Of course, Mike's joining us from Winnipeg. It was sad to see the Jets kicked out of the playoffs the other night. I'm very, Very disappointed. I'm supposed to go to Winnipeg in 2 weeks, and I was really hoping to get to a game, but hey, can't always win. Jennifer coming in from Vancouver Island, welcome in to see you. It's great to have you here. Gina in from Saskatchewan, welcome in to see you. We've got it's Ingrid and Charlie from Alberta, Canada. Well, welcome into the stream there, don't you know? It's great to see you here on the channel. We've got Screen Name Me coming in from Ontario. Great to see you. We got Diana coming in from good old Medicine Hat. Terry Lee, let's effing go. Welcome into the stream. Great to see you, Terry. Zylo's watching from their bedroom. Welcome. It's great to see you. Mystical's on the run from that puppet in Neneland, which is trying to unalive them. Wait, what's that noise? Welcome into the stream, Mystical, coming in from good old Calgary. It's great to see you back in the stream. We got Carson coming in. Hello, Fringe LFG from Slave Lake, Alberta. I'm gonna make that a thing here on the channel. Let's get those LFGs keep coming in, ladies and gentlemen. Let's friggin' go. I don't want to swear in case people have their kids in front of the television, but we all know what LFG stands for. Greetings from Eastern Ontario. Who's more wacko, Trudeau or those who still support him? Quite a few non-compliant, but it's great to have you into the stream. We're gonna get into that tonight. Joe Lyman, good old friend of the channel, one of my closest confidants that I keep on the channel here, and our great moderator coming in from Red Deer, representing. Welcome into the stream, Joe. It's great to see you. We've got Tammy coming in from Perth, Ontario. We've got White Raven. For my first time, I'm watching from my underwear. In liberal China. Well, welcome into the stream. Those must be some large underwear to sit inside them and watch television, or your phone screen, or wherever you're watching from. But welcome into the stream. We got David jumping in from Springfield. I'm assuming that's Springfield, Missouri. Welcome into the stream. Wow. I always love seeing people from outside of Canada. It's always so flattering. I don't know why, but as soon as you see somebody coming in from outside of Canada, it's like, oh my God. Or that might be Montana. I don't know. I don't know what MO is. I don't know my US states very well. Debbie coming in from St. George, Ontario. Welcome in. We've got Nick coming in from Nova Scotia. We've got Gina coming in from BC. Welcome into absolutely everybody. We've got Alice coming in. Shabbat Shalom, my dear. Welcome into the stream. It's great to see you. We've got George coming in from New Brunswick. It's great to have you in here as well. I'm getting lost in the chat here. It's coming through so fast. Richard coming in from Guelph, Ontario. We got first time coming in from Spruce Grove, Alberta. Beautiful town. Welcome in, Reg. It's great to have you here. We got good old Master of Snatch, another one of my favorite moderators, hanging out here in the chat. Everybody's stoked for tonight. I certainly am. Again, get your LFGs in the chat, folks. Let's friggin' go. As we keep moving along, we've got Tammy jumping into the stream as always. Nothing is going to happen. We're going to talk about that. I don't think a lot's going to happen with the election interference, but hey, we're going to get into it tonight. We've got good old Number of the Beast coming in from Oak River, Manitoba. Great to see you in here. We've got Rich coming in from Eastern Ontario. We've got New Mike coming in from New Brunswick. New Mike's New Brunswick. We've got Janice coming in from Ottawa, Ontario. Great to see you in here. Jerry coming in from Leamington, Ontario. Lusky, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, coming in from Edmonton. I keep having issues with the reading. I've been prescribed new glasses, thicker glasses, because in my age, my vision's getting poor. I'm having a hard time reading small print until I get those new glasses. So I apologize, folks, if I'm stammering a little tonight. Margaret coming in from Calgary. Great to see you in here. Canadian coming in from Airdrie. We've got Volgor coming in from Medicine Hat. Annette, great to see you in the stream. Welcome back in. We've got Tammy again chiming in. We've got Princess Thickness is coming in from Montreal, Quebec. Great to see you in here. We got Wesley Snipes coming in from Lethbridge. Doubt that's the Wesley Snipes we all think it is, but welcome into the stream. It's great to have you here. We've got Joe Lyman. Lots of cringe Canadians this week. There's tons of it, and we're going to get into some of that too. Guys, I can't keep up with the chat anymore. It's just going too fast. Everybody who's coming into the stream, we're over 200 strong in our large Fringe majority here in the stream. A lot of people throwing up their LFGs. Throw them into the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. Let's get on to tonight's rounds of discussion. Now, first off, I want to ask a question. I want to get a little poll out of you guys, since there's 210 lovely people in the room right now. What do you guys think of the new sweater? This is, hang on. This is an embroidered new Unacceptable Fringe hoodie. that I ordered. I ordered it just to kind of spoil myself. I wanted something a little more higher quality since the store that I currently use for our merchandise does not offer this option. And I was really looking forward to putting this sweater on a new store so people could order these amazing hand or not hand stitched, but embroidered hoodies, high quality hoodies. Unfortunately, they've and there's no way for me to set that up. So unfortunately, at this moment, I'm not going to be able to do that. But, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these hoodies, if you like them, kind of an exclusive club. So what I'm going to do is, since we don't really have any perks in our tiers for members, anybody who's a member, every 3 months, ladies and gentlemen, throughout the year, I am going to do a draw for one of these hoodies. And the only way to get one is to be a channel member, and I will mail and ship one of these limited hoodies to one of our lucky members every 3 months. Now, if you happen to win one of these hoodies, of course, your name comes out of the draw for future draws because we got to make it fair for everybody. But the only way for now to obtain your hands on one of these high quality embroidered hoodies is going to be a channel member. It supports the channel, and it also supports the cost of these hoodies, because I'll be honest, they're not cheap. But so keep your eyes peeled, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give it a couple months for people to get their memberships in. Then we'll start doing draws. So we'll just say, what is it, April now? Or it's May. Let's do a draw in August. We'll do our first draw in August, and that gives people a couple months to get in and get their memberships in order, and we'll do that draw. Speaking of support for the channel, why can't I pull this up? Terry Lee with a $10 super chat. Star us off. Welcome into the stream. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. That's very gracious of you. I always appreciate the support. Never ask for them, but I always appreciate the support when it comes to the channel. Just a reminder, my bet has run off with what some people are calling the money shot gun. I don't know if you guys want to continue seeing the money shot gun. Let me know in the chat. Maybe I'll bring it back. But for tonight, I thought we'd just try to get onto a focused stream where we can talk about what's going on in Canada, because there is a lot going on in Canada. Let's get caught up in the chat. First thing I want to talk about, we're going to do a little segment here on the channel, one that I want to bring into the stream. Talk about my WTF of the week. This is going to be, sometimes it's going to be a clip of something that happens in the House of Commons. Might be something we find on TikTok. Might be something you guys submit to me over in the comment section. If you tell me in the video comments something you want me to check out here on the channel. But this week, boy, do we have a doozy. I seen some people talking about it in the chat prior to the stream starting. And that is, of course, what has happened with the Canadian military. Let's take a look. I want everybody who isn't aware to take a look at what's happening, and then we're going to talk, because I do show here what I actually think was going on. Let's take a dip in. If there's no audio, everybody let me know, please, because I've been having issues with audio being shared on here. So if there is no audio, we'll skip the video and I'll just give a play-by-play, but let's jump in.
Okay, so we all know that the Canadian Army has faced a lot of, the Canadian Armed Forces have faced a lot of challenges under Justin Trudeau's Liberal government. Chronic underfunding, there's been massive sexual harassment allegations that have never really been addressed. So the Canadian Army has faced a lot of challenges under the Liberal government. These are things that the Liberal government should be trying to fix. But today they made an announcement about the Canadian Army, but it's not the announcement any of us thought it was going to be. Now, I need you to share this video, because I actually think people are going to think that this isn't for real, but this is real. I'm a Canadian member of Parliament. This came up on the Canadian Army's verified Twitter feed. So this has actually happened. So instead of dealing with the chronic underfunding of the Canadian Army, or the fact that the Liberals have basically lost recruitment, sexual harassment, all of these things, instead of dealing with any of this stuff, they wanted to fix the logo. They decided they were going to fix the logo of the Canadian Army. So this is what it used to be, okay? So this is what it used to be. This is what they released this afternoon. This is now, and I know that the image is mirrored, but this is now this is the logo of the Canadian Army. So And I did, like, when I saw this, one of my staff members saw this, I was like, no, it's the Onion or something. Like, this isn't, it's Beaverton, whatever. Like, that they can't actually have done that. Like, I didn't believe it. But no, this is verified. This is now the logo of the Canadian Army. So I know what you're asking. I know what you're going to ask. What is that? I see it in the comments. WTF is that? I don't know. I can't tell you. It's 2 brown blobs. If you go online right now, the description of these brown blobs, it's not really charitable. I mean, if you let your mind wander, it's not great.
That is one big pile of shit.
Oh, no, 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 no.
What were they thinking? What happened? Can somebody please explain to me what the hell am I looking at? Oh God. I quit. I can't do this anymore. I can't, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. I can't do this for a job anymore. I can't sit here and talk. This is insane. This is where we're at. Are we serious? Who designed this? This is just as bad as Jody Gondek renaming Calgary Big Sky City, that people have now abbreviated as BS City, and that cost us $5 million. How much did this this pile of shit cost us? How much was that costing? How many contracts were awarded out to third-party companies that the government owns under that? What the absolute hell? Oh, this is why I drink. I swear to God. I swear to God. I can't. Flames. I can't do it, ladies and gentlemen. I can't. Let's get, my God, and I thought the blue ring was bad. So I've got some advice for that blue ring in Calgary. If you don't know what it is, it's essentially this giant blue ring that's a lamppost, that is a huge eyesore in Calgary. That was artwork that was put up many years ago when Naheed Nenshit was the mayor of Calgary. And it's right next to the airport. So I think what they should do is put some fabric in there. They could make it a giant windsock for the airplanes when they're coming into land. Or put some latex around it, and it can be just a big giant condom when people are coming into Calgary just before they get bent over with no lube because they're living in a BS city. That's 60 plus million. Is that seriously the price tag? I hope that's sarcasm. Was trained at time Digital Army camo first out. Now it's our defense logo. WTF. It's probably a Trudy Doodle while he was being briefed on info. No, they're playing Minecraft. They're doing Minecraft now. That's what Calgary's looking into. You're looking at the latest waste of tax dollars by the libtard. Nope. Nope. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that tonight. There's a bigger waste. That's up there though. Pile of shit is what I posted on here YouTube page when I seen this represents Canada. Great. The country is dried up from the rotting leaf to a pile of call of duties going on. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, ladies and gents. Kubert's wife left him for Super Mario back in 1988. Common knowledge. I was not aware. If she's got a nose, a schnoz like Kubert, that explains a lot. Some weird things could be going on in that household. I don't know what to say, ladies and gentlemen. Our soldiers must be so proud. No bid contract. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, look, usually I'm a motor mouth on this channel. Usually I've got my opinions to throw around. I literally saw that today. A good friend of the channel, CB Fixes All, sent me that. I do my research during the day for videos. I try to get content ready for you guys for the weekends on Friday. And usually I'm just burnt out mid-afternoon to the point that I just shut everything off. I don't pay attention anymore. And then all of a sudden CB sends me this message and says, "You need to talk about this, man." I said, what are you talking about? And I was sitting in my vehicle taking a drink, and I literally spat it out when I saw this and said, "You've got to be kidding me." First, they want to change the national anthem to All of Us Command. Now this. Great days for people kind here in Canada. My God. Garth, a new channel member, thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. You're now entered into the draw for one of these amazing embroidered hoodies. Thank you for supporting the channel and jumping into the Fringe. Speaking of CB, there's CB. Yes, I did. Yeah, you did. You threw that back at me, and it totally threw my day for a flip. But hey, that's our WTF of the week, ladies and gentlemen. This country's in trouble. That's no surprise. Duh. We all know it's in trouble. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback this week in terms of the content we've been putting out while we're getting ruthlessly crushed here on the channel. Took a lot of feedback. And I've listened to what people have had to say. And a video came out earlier this week where I was talking about Calgary. And I try to stay away as much as I can from city politics merely because I broadcast to a very wide audience. And I want to make sure that any news I'm giving you guys is either national or at least tied into the federal government so that people have something to relate to when it comes to that news. However, in Calgary this week, a vote passed in City Hall that is quite alarming. And I want to talk about this because some of the comments, I was actually shocked. Now, I'm going to be quite upfront and right out there. The comments, ladies and gentlemen, do not bother me. They do not affect me. I am not playing pity party on anything. I sometimes get into the comment section because I want to understand how people are feeling, what's going on in people's minds when they're watching the videos. Sometimes people have really positive feedback that can help with the channel. So from time to time, I dip in there and like to get a glimpse of what's going on. And a lot of people were really upset with what I claimed would happen in this video. I keep apologizing. If people can hear me swallowing, I'm sorry. I've got a cold I've got from my son. And it's hard to keep talking. So Calgary City Hall, if you missed the video, and you should go back and watch it because the views on this channel are just going like this. YouTube does not want these videos getting out these days. Reg, thank you for becoming a new channel member. My goodness, thank you so much. Go check out those videos. If you haven't watched our content from this week, please go check it out. Run it in the background. Give a thumbs up and a comment. Anything you guys can do. But the video this week was talking about a new vote that went through in Calgary City Hall about allowing voting for non-Canadian citizens in municipal elections. Much like the military logo with Michelle Rempel, who looks like she's seen better days when she was in that video. But I'm not here to judge. I thought it was a joke. I said, there's no way. How's that possible? How can we do this? How can this be allowed? First off, it's not allowed. MP Rick McIver has come out now to talk about what has happened. And he said, look, this isn't going to happen in Alberta. We're not going to amend election rules. But there's a bigger problem at stake here. What they've essentially voted in for is said, well, non-Canadians pay taxes. They contribute to our system. They should be allowed to vote. The reason they want this, ladies and gentlemen, is the same reason that they're doing this in the United States and certain states. They're losing. They want to be able to manipulate elections. That's the only reason they want this. It's the same as during lockdowns. And I thought by now people would be a lot more awake when it comes to the government. Anytime they say, knock, knock, I need just a little bit more power because I just can't do what I'm wanting to do right now. I hate to break it to everybody. There's a reason those limits were put on government, because they would abuse them. And they always say, we'll give it back. I promise. It's just for temporary. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, ladies and gentlemen. Nope. Give an inch, take a mile. You'll never get it back. They want to change the rules because they can't win on woke dialect and BS propaganda anymore. Nobody's paying attention to Justin Trudeau when he's talking about climate. Nobody's paying attention to Justin Trudeau when he's talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and all this other nonsense, except for a bunch of Yahoo wackos. The biggest threat to Alberta, the biggest problem we're going to see in Alberta, and I keep mentioning it and people just don't want to take it serious. I understand. Everybody likes Danielle Smith. I like Danielle Smith. I voted for Danielle Smith. I'll vote for her again. My biggest concern is that big purple loser that's lining up to take the top spot in the province, Naheed Nenshit. This man toppled Calgary. He destroyed it with woke ideologies. He's openly racist against white people. You're not allowed to do anything in this city if you're white, apparently. It's a crime. But one of the things I worry about, one of the things I really worry about that I was talking to CB about yesterday is the same thing I pointed out in that video, and it's the margin of victory that Danielle Smith took in the last election. I want to go over it here because people were saying, well, you're blackpilling everybody with this, Derek. You're causing a bunch of panic for things that don't need to be there. You're going off the rails. You're suggesting things that aren't going to come to pass. Here's the problem. Let me get this screen up and running. Here's a map of Alberta on the last election. Okay, we showed this in the video. If we zoom in Calgary, here are the areas in which Danielle Smith took. Now you can see there's a lot of orange in Calgary. This all here is Calgary. There's a lot of orange in here. Now in the areas that weren't orange, Bouchard won with 9,600 votes versus the NDP at 7,000. So they won by 2,600 votes out of 17,000 voting in that region. Next one, Miles McDougall, 13,700 votes to 11,200. Again, thin margins. These aren't crushing victories. And this is out of 25,000 people voting. I can see people talking about the Muslim community in the chat already. That's a big concern. Let's take a look at, you guys remember Dennis Ram, who mocked the lady who lost her 2 sons during the pandemic? 11,008 for the UCP to 9,000. A 2,800 vote lead where there was 21,000 total votes. Calgary Cross, this is getting closer to the Muslim communities. 7,500 votes for Mickey Amory. 7,500 votes to 7,016. He only won by 500 votes. 500 votes. Chestermere, which is just outside of Calgary. This is a little different because you're outside the Calgary Center at this point. So you can see a 14,000 vote for UCP over 5,500 for the NDP. But when you go into the northeast of Calgary, where the Muslim communities are huge, that's why you have this gentleman running that got 11,000 votes to 9,000. Calgary North, UCP won 79-15 to 78-02. 100 votes made up that difference. Should probably make this a little bit bigger. 100 votes made up the difference. This is what should scare the living daylights out of people. There's so much orange in this town, right? Look at Calgary Bow. Calgary Bow is a huge riding. It's a very massive riding where you had corrupt former Calgary councillor Drew Farrell, who is the definition of woke, by the way, running at 12,555 votes, and the UCP won by 12,940. They only won by 400 votes. This is a key riding. Like when I talk about key ridings, I'm talking about the same in the US as when they talk about Florida and how those decide elections. When you look at what's going on here, like the majority of Alberta is blue, ladies and gentlemen. Much like federal politics, when we talk about how federal elections, essentially when you vote in Alberta, BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, you're voting for your MPs to get bums and chairs. You're voting so that you build up the parties. But the prime minister is often decided in a small pocket of Ontario and Quebec because of the boundaries of per capita people. Alberta is decided by its municipalities, by its cities. This is where we have a huge, huge problem on our hands come the next election if Naheed Nenshi gets the leadership of the NDP. And again, in the comment section, people are saying you're causing mass panic. I'm trying to be real with you guys. I'm trying to show people why you need to vote, why it's so important to vote. And people say, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Look at those margins. There are significantly more voters in those ridings that actually voted. Now, Danielle Smith could have gained ground throughout the 4 years that she'll be premier of the province in some of those ridings, in some of the ridings that turned orange. There could be a lot of people who approve of what Danielle Smith did. But if we go into another election like that, and Naheed Nenshi is running against Danielle Smith, there are a lot of people in Calgary's orange votes that still think he's the cat's pajamas, that still think he did all these great things. You've got the Muslim community support, and you've got the younger generation that wants to stand on the side of diversity, equity, inclusion. Oh, he's a Muslim. Let's have Alberta's first Muslim premier. How many people do you think are going to vote like that? Daphne Devine gifting 5 memberships to the channel. Daphne, thank you. Wow. Thank you so much. This is a huge, huge problem. Because when you talk about non-Canadians voting and Calgary wanting that so they can start placing and installing who is in charge in the mayor's chair, what do you think Naheed Nenshi is going to do provincially when the first Muslim mayor gets in there and or the first Muslim premier gets in and says, oh, well, it's working well for Calgary. Let's do it provincially too. Now I can sit in this chair and keep this job for as long as I want. Romanian Patriot, $3 super sticker. Thank you so much, you guys. Wow, you guys are being really generous tonight. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. A lot of people are saying never going to happen. The NDP will never get back in. Look, I stood on that fence when Rachel Notley first got in as the premier of Alberta, because I said, look, a lot of people didn't want Jim Prentice. A lot of people were sending a message to the Conservatives because they had this conservative dynasty in Alberta where they felt that they could do whatever they wanted and they'd never be challenged. They'd never be toppled. But the biggest problem with the NDP was that a lot of people were pissed off and they voted NDP, even though they wanted to vote Conservative, because they wanted to send a message. That was the consensus I got from a number of people that voted that way in that election. And what happened was all the unions got on board to push votes for healthcare workers, for education workers, and the NDP got in with a majority in that election, and it blew everyone's minds. Because had people have known that sending a message to the Conservatives was going to put us in 4 years of darkness with the NDP, I guarantee you a vast majority of those people may not have voted for that party. But since then, in Alberta, especially in a booming province such as Alberta, there are reports from British Columbia saying that 63% of people that migrated into Canada or migrated provinces, that Canadians that changed provinces in the last year, 63% of those moves from British Columbia came to Calgary. Those are people that typically vote NDP or Liberal. They don't vote Conservative. We've got people from all over the country coming to Calgary. It's a booming city. This should scare the living shit out of people. That if this moronic thing gets in as Premier of Alberta, even if I'm the mayor of Calgary, I'm going to pack my bags and leave. And I don't want to be the guy like, oh, if Trump wins, I'm moving to Canada. But he would destroy this province. He's in bed with the WEF. He's been associated with the WEF since 2011 in the earliest records that I could find. So when people say it's not going to happen, it's never going to happen again, when the votes were that close, this isn't black pill. This is reality, ladies and gentlemen. This is you got to get out and vote if you're in Alberta. You have to make sure, especially if you're in a city, get off your ass, do your job. CB, when I was talking to him, even said, I wish there was a law that said if you're over 18, you must vote. If you're a Canadian citizen, you are legally obligated to vote. I wish to God that were the case. We're in big trouble. And if this happens in Alberta, again, let's put on our tinfoil hats for a second. Calgary passes non-Canadians voting in the city. It takes off, does great things. Naheed Nenshi, the head of the NDP. He's the Premier of Alberta. He says, let's bring that into the province. Let's make that a provincial thing. Other provinces that have NDP majorities start to see that happening and go, oh, it's working for Alberta. Let's do the same thing here. Let's amend our provincial rules. And before you know it, ladies and gentlemen, it makes its way back to the federal government. And the federal government says, well, it's happening everywhere else. We might as well do it too. When we talk about election interference that happened with Skippy today, which we all know he's guilty of. Again, not too many people caught that video, but you should go and watch it. It points out just how corrupt. In British Columbia, they were saying in Vancouver that the Conservative riding lost their seat that they found doing their investigations because a bunch of Chinese voters got off of buses and essentially obliterated him out of the water. Illegal voting. And while they sit, what is it? Was it Hogue who sits and says, well, I did my look. I looked into it and found that there was no election interference, and then said 3 other times in that article, it blew my mind how much interference there actually is. So she contradicted herself several times. Several times. We're in trouble. If you think 8 years of Justin Trudeau was bad, this is the tip of the iceberg, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I constantly say Pierre isn't the complete answer. When people say, well, I'm waiting for Pierre to get in and fix my problems. I like Pierre. I like him, but he's not the solution. He's not the complete solution. We as citizens need to get up, get loud, get in our MPs' faces and say, stop pissing around with our tax dollars, with our laws, and quit this shit. Cut the shit. Or you're out of a job. People say you can't vote your way out of problems. It has to start at the lowest levels. Municipally, provincially, and then federally. If you've got a province like Alberta where its citizens stand up and say, no more. No more of this. Other people will follow suit when they see the change that can come from people getting active, from people being involved. Because you'll have people who come from places like British Columbia that are frustrated, or people who come from Manitoba that are frustrated, and they'll say, politics are just crap in our province. And you'll say, yeah, but we don't put up with it here. And I'm not talking about just Alberta. I'm using Alberta as an example because I'm here. But if you live in any province that does this, if you lived in Manitoba and you did this, you'd start saying, yeah, that ain't going to fly here. We don't allow it. We're in control of the government, not the other way around. Only way is a revolution. We are the solution. However, they didn't listen to me way back in 2002 and before. Here's the thing. People are always going to say, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. Change isn't going to happen until we do something, though. I could be right until the cows come home about Naheed Nenshi. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. My wife and I had the conversation of what happens if this clown overtakes Danielle Smith. When you talk about election interference, the federal government hates Danielle Smith. You don't think there's going to be strings pulled to get Naheed Nenshi to the top? You don't think there's going to be messing around or interference? We're in trouble. Not just Alberta. This is the stuff. If Alberta falls, and I'm not trying to say Alberta's the be all end all. If Alberta falls, that sends a signal to other provinces. Here's how you do it. Here's the template. Go screw it up and go wreck their lives. T. Rich, I hate to say that the government is out of control. Of course they're out of control. They've been out of control for ages. Daphne, I think Albertans are going to have some very wide eyes during election time. Yeah, but Daphne, the problem is interference. The biggest problem, the biggest threat to our problems right now, and I really hate pointing fingers. I really hate labeling people en masse. I'm going to tell you right now, the biggest problem are university students. This younger generation of lazy, self-entitled, social justice warrior university students that preach about body mutilation, that preach about everyone's equal except white people. The younger generation that says, give me UBI because I can't save to buy a house. And they're the ones, because I can tell you right now, when Jody Gondek got in as mayor of Calgary, how many frickin' Gen Z or whatever they call them now running around going, oh, I voted for her because she's a female. I wanted the first female mayor in Calgary. That doesn't qualify you to be mayor. We're in trouble. There's a lot of the boomer generation, the baby boomer, not like okay boomer. I'm talking like baby boomer generation, 1950s babies that are in their 70s right now that love Naheed Nenshi. I hear it all the time when I'm out and around. I go past a coffee shop or something. You hear them all talking about politics. That's all people talk about when they go out these days. I had to go pay some bills the other day, and I ended up at the mall for my wife's birthday to pick up a gift. My son wanted to get something to eat. We had lots to do still, so I sat down. We got him something to eat. There's some guys probably about my old man's age sitting down talking politics, and you can hear everything they say. They love Naheed Nenshi. Well, he might be a Muslim, but he went to Harvard and he knows a lot about economics. Yeah, the guy who raised our taxes every single year and went and did an Olympic bid. He bid for the Olympics and raised up millions in debt, and then at the 11th hour pulled out and said, nah, not worth it. Nah, we're just going to leave it alone. Couldn't have done that before time, Naheed Nenshi. You couldn't have looked at it and said, oh, it's not financially possible. It's not going to work. We're not in the best financial position to be putting in money for these bids. We should be focusing on our bloody people first. Jackass. People are scared of what the future costs will be. The hammer fell and we haven't seen the end yet. It's more than the hammer fall. And that's why I get so frustrated when people say I'm black pilling everyone and that I'm causing panic. This is how we got into this mess with Justin Trudeau. By people saying, it's no big deal. It's fine. Nothing bad's going to happen, right? What the last 8 years has shown us is the same thing that it showed the older generation with Trudeau Sr., that you have to be vigilant and you have to make sure that this shit never happens again. And the only way to do that is to get involved and make sure you're doing your due diligence, make sure you're doing your research, make sure you know just who the hell is running for office and what their plans are, at least as much as you can. And I'm not talking about what they promise you or what they're saying they're going to do. Look up their backgrounds. Look at everything they've done over their lives. Look at the companies they've been associated with. Look at this Randy Bossonol. $120 million of scandal because he's taking money on contracts for a company he didn't step down from at conflicts of interest. You remember him doing the Dr. Evil look when they asked him about parents having rights for genders, and he went, like this, like he's some evil genius. Like, oh, good, they're asking my opinion. I think parents don't have any rights. I don't think parents should have a say in what happens to their children. You guys don't have rights. That's the guy who was too pig-headed to step down from conflicts of interest. Nobody researches this stuff before election. I'm not blaming people. I'm saying this is a wake-up call. Of course we're putting fear out there. Of course we're blackpilling, if that's what you want to call it, because we don't want this to happen again. I love my country. I love the people that are in it that are genuine Canadians. The weak, the ones who pack up and run, the ones that say, it's just not my thing, guys, or I don't want to get involved. I don't want to have my bank account frozen. I don't want to stand up for anything that's going to get me in trouble on social media. Those people can go vanish. People have often said to me, what are you doing besides complaining in your basement? I'm running for public office because nobody's going to make a bloody change, and I'll probably lose. But you know what? At least I'm doing something. When there's those that do nothing. You have to get out and do something. And I'll tell you right now, when the decision came to run for office, I've talked about it multiple times. I was with Jordan Peterson. And he convinced me this is where change happens. You have to get involved. And I'll tell you, when I listen to that man for 10 minutes, say whatever you want to about his views, say whatever you want to about the way he's gone in the last couple of months. I respect the man's opinion when it comes to politics. He's got a good head on his shoulders. And I'll tell you, I'm grateful for the advice he's given me, but he has a point. The most politics that affect you aren't federal. It's municipal. It's provincial. That's where we got to snuff out the problems first, because once your province builds up to be told, we're not taking it, the federal government will start getting in check. Because if they can't get their numbers, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? We're going to get another wacko prime minister. Speaking of wackos, I do want to shameless plug really quick because, ladies and gentlemen, I've already had 2 reports on this merchandise. Oh, why isn't it sharing it? What's that? There we go. Our new F Wacko shirts and Wacko Obama poster shirts and accessories are in our store right now. There is a link in the videos or the live streams description. The reason I'm plugging it, this stuff's on sale for the next 24 hours, so you can get it cheap, but get it before people who are butthurt report it and have it pulled. It's happened multiple times, ladies and gentlemen. So try and grab it. If you want to grab, I'm not telling people to spend money. I know money's tight right now, but if you want to get something that really shines out in public, this is your chance to get it before it disappears. Again, it's happened before. I'm already starting to get warnings, but I just wanted to throw it out there for anybody who's wanting to do that, that it's available. It's on our shop, and the description is in this stream's, or the link is in this stream's description if you guys want to jump on that. But now's the time. That being said, when we talk about guys like Randy Boissonnault, I'm curious what's going to happen. Again, you guys seen Garnet Jennis here on the channel. I asked him flat out when it came to Arrive Scan, why do we have these committees? Why do we have these hearings? If we're not going to see arrests, if we're not going to see justice for Canadian taxpayer dollars, why are we doing this if we're not going to see the law step in and those held to account that have scammed taxpayer dollars? To which he says, well, we just got to get to the bottom of it. It's important we get to the bottom of it. I didn't like that answer. I didn't think it was fair to taxpaying Canadians. However, with this inquiry that Michael Barrett has now suggested to bring in Boissonnault's, I guess you could say, partner with his companies, to have her testify, to have people who worked alongside these contracts testifying. I think what it's going to result in is this man stepping down, much like Han Dong or anybody else who's had to step down. What was Trudeau's original finance minister? He had to step down due to issues with scandals. Trudeau will throw anybody under the bus. Morneau, Bill Morneau. You're going to see, I think, Boissonnault have to step down. If the paperwork shows he owns 50% of a company and violated conflicts of interest, it's done. It's done. Daphne, renewing her membership on her 3-month streak. Serious question here. What would it take for Nuremberg 2.0? You know what? That's a great question, but honestly, you've got me stumped. I don't know what it's going to take at this point, because when you look at the Canadian military logo, when you look at, again, these inquiries that go nowhere, when you look at no charges, when you look at no elections being called, I don't know where we're going anymore with things. I don't know where this country is headed. Pierre Poilievre said it when he met with those protesters last week, when he was accused of being in bed with Diagolon, that we're going to dust off common sense because it hasn't been used. We have no common sense anymore in our government. It's not a matter of not having common sense. We don't have government that care. Nobody cares because they're just going to get away with it anyways. He took $118 million in government contracts. Yeah, huge problem. Huge problem. Just don't be a whistleblower for Boeing. Yeah, I hear you get Hillaried when you do that. What a mess. What a mess. I definitely think we'll see it at the very minimum. You know, I'd like to see charges. I'd like to see people go to jail. I'd like to see people, sent to Gitmo. But ultimately, if they step down, that's just as good in my opinion, especially if they don't qualify for their pension. Now, keep in mind with Boissonnault that he was an MP and then lost his seat in 2019, and then he came back in the 2021 election. So I'm not sure if he qualifies for his pension if he had to step down at this point, regardless of the extension that Justin Trudeau was putting in for the election. I'll have to look into that. But what's this coming up here? Jagmeet Singh was seen driving a gold Porsche last Tuesday. Is that true? Is that true? Jagmeet Singh was driving a gold Porsche. I seen him get his ass handed to him on Power Play with Vashi this week. I don't know if you guys caught the video of that this morning, where she basically said to him, "What you keep calling him a failed prime minister? Why aren't you forcing an election?" And it's kind of nice to have somebody say that to him, because you don't see it too often. Jagmeet Singh likes to talk about grocery prices. He likes to talk about, Galen Weston a lot, but nobody really asks him why. Why are you doing this? Tammy's saying he doesn't get the pension. He must serve 6 consecutive years. There you go. He wasn't going to serve after this next election anyways. So I guess he's not getting the pension. But, when you got $120 million roughly sitting in an account, I'm sure life is pretty cushy. I think the biggest concern that at least I have when it comes to federal politics right now is where we're headed for the next year and a half. I feel like this summer, usually when things get quiet, traditionally things get quiet over the summer when the MPs go on summer break. I don't know if we're going to see that this year, because again, going into next year being an election year, I think we're going to see Pierre doing a lot of appearances. I know he's coming to Calgary at some point during Stampede season, I think. You're going to see Justin Trudeau trying to get a lot of word salad out this summer. And it's going to be interesting with this new scandal, I guess you could call it, as to how things are going to go. London Drugs' website was compromised. I heard London Drugs had to close a bunch of Western locations because they're struggling. while Jugmeat Singh's talking about Loblaws all the time, I don't know if you guys have heard about the new walkout. I guess that's me. Some people are saying that you're supposed to steal from Loblaws on Sunday. I don't know what that's all about. I'm not planning on stealing from Loblaws, but I hear about um, this Loblaws thing that's going on where you're supposed to boycott the store. Now, I went past my local Real Canadian Superstore this evening when I picked my wife up from work, and I noticed that traffic seems to be about the same in there. It doesn't look like anybody's boycotting. I don't know. Has anybody seen if the boycotts are being effective? Has anybody seen any of the Loblaws locations around where they live if boycotts are being effective? Now, I did talk about the ongoing protest of Loblaws and what that entails on our new channel. I don't know if you guys caught the video earlier this week where I talked about Surviving Canada being our new channel, where I'm going to talk a little bit about money saving tips. I'm going to talk about what we're going to do in the state of Canada. We're going to kind of get down to basics, not so much Justin Trudeau videos or politics, but more how we get to around as a collective in Canada. And I'm going to start taking your guys' questions for videos, things that you want to know. One thing that I mentioned in the video, and when I first announced this channel, which also, by the way, a new channel. So we have Surviving Canada, but I've also started another channel called Missing Context. If you guys even want to head over to that channel, Missing Context is going to be kind of culture wars, more stuff like you can see here. I did a video about TikTok being banned. I also talked about why I buy my arcade machines in certain models and why I don't collect major ones. But 2 new channels up for discussion, new videos. Again, I have interest in those subjects, so I wanted to put them out there. And again, be part of the solution when it comes to spending in Canada and trying to help people. Because one thing I mentioned in that video that a lot of people often ask me is how do you amass everything that's behind you? A lot of people thought these arcades were a green screen for a while, and then I always find it funny when people are told, no, that's real. One thing I said in that video that I think people got the mixed message. People thought I was having like a pity video, and that I was trying to say that, hey, people don't take me serious because I don't wear suits, because I don't have, a fancy background where it's like an office setting. And I can understand that to a degree, but I've said when I run for city politics, there's going to be a huge difference between what you see here and what you see out there. And what I do down here is me in my place of reflection, me in my place of Zen, I guess you could call it. And I like sharing that with my viewers. I like showing everybody what's going on down here. So again, I was more using people taking those stances as a segue to promote those channels. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm not affected by anybody who says you're not taken seriously. I merely tell them, go do what I've done over the last 2 years, and I'll take you seriously as well. But when it comes to where things are headed, I wanted to put those channels in place so that you guys had somewhere to go to get extra content. Again, the channels aren't updating as often yet as this channel does. This channel is still a priority, but I find with the censorship that's going around on YouTube these days, again, I went from, now this isn't a complaint, this isn't me whining, but I went from very high video views that kept going down, 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 and people telling me in my chats, in these chats, live streams, in Discord messages, through emails, I'm unsubbed from the channel without my knowledge. I'm not getting notifications when videos drop. YouTube again tells me, oh, everything's fine, but we all know it's not. There's been multiple channels that have been suppressed. You even see this video I put out last week talking about how Tim Pool paid for ads on YouTube and still had 2 of his videos from a long time ago deleted because they just don't want you getting outside that bubble. And look, I don't want to badmouth YouTube because I'm on the platform. This is where I make my living, and I don't want to cause any waves, but views are still dropping at an alarming rate simply because YouTube just does not allow the videos to be pushed out into the algorithm, it seems. And that's okay, because I'm not here for the money. Yes, it's nice when you can turn it into a living, when you can turn it into some form of revenue, but I'm here to produce content, and content again is primarily going to be focused on this channel. But this is another source to get information out where it's not suppressed on these other 2 channels yet, at least. So that's why I'm putting it through. Now, as we talk about censorship and we talk about Justin Trudeau censorship in Canada, I wanted to inform everybody. Last week, I said that there was going to be a guest on the show this week and that it was going to be a guest with a very large YouTube subscriber count, and I didn't really give any other information other than that subtle hint. The reason for that interview, I'll give an update to that. I thought the interview was going to happen this week, and unfortunately, their schedule was very busy. They double booked our interview. Actually, the video was supposed to launch this morning for you guys, so I've rescheduled for next week. So next Friday, unless things change again, because this person, I might as well just fill you guys in. If you've ever heard of a channel called The Quartering, Jeremy Hambley from The Quartering is going to be joining me here on the channel for an interview to talk about censorship on YouTube, censorship and how it works on other platforms, as well as Justin Trudeau's Canada, and how between Canada and the US right now, there's a huge issue going on with people's freedoms of speech being censored, especially as we get into election years. And I'm looking forward to having Jeremy here on the channel. If you guys haven't heard of The Quartering, which would shock me because a lot of people know who he is, go check out his channel. He's over 1 million subscribers. Very, very popular on YouTube. And again, definitely a bucket list item for me. I've been following his channel for years, probably since around 2017. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of The Quartering. Sean Scotty coming in. I like his channel. That's great. Coffee Man Coffee. Yeah. If you don't know The Quartering, he's got coffeebrandcoffee.com. I might ask him why we don't have that in Canada yet, or when we might get that, because I don't drink coffee, but they've got hot chocolate that I definitely want to get my hands on. Maybe I can suck up and get some sent this way, but keep your eyes peeled next week. Again, The Quartering coming here on the Fringe to talk politics, to talk a whole bunch of. I don't know if it's going to be like a typical 10-minute interview, or if we're going to get into like a long-term discussion video. Either way, I think it's going to be great. It's going to be good information for you guys, and I'm very much looking forward to having Quartering here on the channel. Keep your eyes out for that. Vulgar, it's too expensive to import the coffee from The Quartering. Yeah, I've heard it's somebody saying Safe Space is no more. Is that true? Space Cafe, sorry. Did I miss something? I was speaking on the spot recently saying and in my head. I was thinking, gosh, I feel like JT under the pressure. You know, that is one thing I get a lot of criticism for on the channel, is a lot of ahs and ums. I don't know if you guys have noticed, I've been trying to work on it lately in my videos. I'm really trying to keep it down. That's actually part of my social anxiety complex. Anytime I'm talking, the brain moves faster than the mouth. And when I try to get words out, sometimes it comes out in ahs and ums. I've been told that Justin Trudeau's is related to a stutter of some kind, but I've been trying my best to try and curb that, so that you guys don't have to put up with all my ahs and ums in videos. I know a lot of people, anytime they're dropping in the comments, say, love your content. Please try to fix that. I'm doing my best, guys. Work with me here. Bear with me. It's going to get better. I promise. It's crazy. Space Cafe, totally demonetized. What did they do? Does anybody know what they did? That's crazy. Blackface on a Castro, I'm subscribed to The Quartering. It's a great show. Quartering's great. Jeremy's got some great content. Again, he delves more into the culture wars stuff, but he also talks about U.S. politics. He's covered the trucker convoy. He's covered a lot of Canadian stuff. And again, I'm looking forward to having him here on the channel. I'm gonna have to nerd out a little bit, because again, I'm like a 7-year viewer of that channel, and I'm looking very forward to that. You be you. I appreciate that, Tammy. I do want to be me. At the same time, I want to always ensure I've got a standard when people come to this channel, that I want to make sure people are getting what I see from other channels. I want to make sure people are getting informed. I want to make sure people are getting the best that they can get. And wow, Space Cafe completely demonetized. I can't believe that. There's a lot of stuff going on right now with YouTube channels, and I'm seeing channels imploding. I'm seeing channels losing subscribers. I'm seeing a lot of political channels starting to dwindle down a little bit. There seems to be a plethora of people out in the YouTube area right now that are starting YouTube political commentary channels, and the ones that have been around the longest, I'm starting to see either their interests starting to wane, or a little bit of, I guess, burnout from viewers when it comes to the content, and in some instances the viewers completely turning on those channels and having issues. There's a lot of drama going on in the political space, which I'm not going to get into because this is not a drama channel. But it just blows my mind these days, just where we're at in politics, that we all, again, I've talked about it before, we all should be on the same team. We should all be advocating to get that chooch out of office, Justin Trudeau, to make sure that, you know, by the time the next election hits, that we're all in a better spot. I mean, I personally, that's why I got into YouTube. I know that I wanted to get in here to put up the fight, to amass a community of people that were just essentially fed up with their government, people that were looking for change. And it just feels like, with all the drama that goes on a lot of different channels these days, people are losing their way. People are losing the fight in them, I guess. And I guess what I worry about is that strategies like Justin Trudeau's divide and conquer are starting to take effect on people. We're starting to turn on ourselves. We're starting to change our own narrative, and it's alarming. Mystical saying Magneto was right. Listen, if you guys, I know a lot of my audience are older; they don't watch comic related stuff, but X-Men '97, I've been watching. I grew up with the X-Men cartoon in the 90s, and yes, Magneto was right. Such a good show. For once, Marvel puts out something that's not virtue signaling, and it happens to be an animated show. But thank God that didn't get butchered, because I was worried. I was worried. We are united. I'm glad to hear that too, Flips. I like hearing that people are still invested. People are still interested in putting up the fight. It's when you see the fighting going on these days, even when you see the government putting out claims of Diagolon all the time. Look, Diagolon's a meme. That's what mainstreamers don't realize, is that Diagolon was a meme. What, isn't it like a white powder addicted goat, time traveling goat, or something like that? Like, I don't know a lot about Diagolon, but what I want to bring up and what I want to talk about is one thing that happened with Diagolon this week. Jeremy McKenzie put out a statement this week in regards to Pierre Poilievre's attacks that were coming from Justin Trudeau in regards to Diagolon. Now, we've seen Justin Trudeau attacking Pierre with his endorsement from Alex Jones. You can't control what Alex Jones says. You can't control who he endorses. But now, as Pierre did that video where he appeared with some protesters over the carbon tax, well, there's a Diagolon flag drawn on a trailer, and all of a sudden every liberal and every leftist goes, oh, look, there's a flag. Pierre's in bed with Diagolon. Do you guys remember, like 2 years ago, year and a half ago, a drunk Jeremy McKenzie making statements about Pierre's wife? Do you really think Pierre Poilievre has anything to do with Diagolon? Or the guys that are labeled as being Diagolon? Come on. That's reaching. But what I do appreciate from Jeremy McKenzie is that he put out a video statement this week to clarify that what was going on, he had no affiliation. Pierre has no affiliation with them. That he has no affiliation with the people who had the flag on their door. And I'm gonna give him some props for a minute, even though I've had my opinions about Jeremy based on the things he said about Pierre's wife, because I don't feel there's a place for that in any reasonable setting. Whether you like or hate somebody, the words that were said, I don't agree with, but I'm going to give him some props. Hold on 1 second. We got a $5 super chat from Daphne Devine. Have you heard about the New York mayor sending over more busloads of people from Roxham Road, since they're having such a hard time with their guests lately? That has been going on for quite some time. I'll get into that after this. But that's been going on for ages. But as for Jeremy McKenzie, what I can appreciate about a guy like him, not only first, I would thank him for his service, because he's a veteran. He has fought in Afghanistan. He gave his health, he gave his youth to defend this country. And I'm very grateful for any soldier that gives the ultimate sacrifice, not the ultimate sacrifice, but the sacrifice to go to war for complete strangers to merely defend their country. The ultimate sacrifice would mean he didn't come home, but you get what I'm getting at. The statement he puts out now, Jeremy does not like Pierre Poilievre. There's no question about that. If you watch any of their live streams or know any history of I'll just keep saying the Diagolon boys, even though they're not Diagolon. If you know the history, he's not a fan of Pierre Poilievre. But this is a man that, despite his political opinions, despite his political views, was willing to put out a statement to say, there's no affiliation, get off his back. This is a witch hunt. There's no shenanigans going on here. And I commend him for doing that, because it would have been very easy to stir the pot. It would have been very easy to say, let's run this out. Let's gain viewers. Let's gain subs. Let's gain people for the cause. Let's, be shit disturbers. Let's, like, they could have basically done anything they wanted with it. And instead he took a step out and said, nah, there's nothing going on here. You guys are chasing a dead end. He would rather that Canadians have the opportunity to vote for what they believe in than exercising his personal opinions about Pierre Poilievre. So, I don't know the guy. I've never spoke to Jeremy McKenzie. I've met Ferryman one time, but aside from that, I don't know any of those boys, but I'll give credit where it's due. I give respect for saying something. I think it's great. Thank you for all you do. We must stand together. Yes. And essentially that's what Jeremy did, that despite his political views, he still sees the end game here. He still sees the goal that we just want to get rid of Justin Trudeau. He's not promoting Pierre Poilievre. He's not promoting anyone. But he knows where people's hearts sit, and he knows the right thing to do. So I'll give credit where it's due. I think it's good on him for what he did. And over to Daphne's question about the New York buses and Roxham Road. This is a massive problem. This has been going on for months. New York, I think it's going to pick up significantly, because New York has now started saying, okay, enough is enough. They've given people marching orders that they have. I think it's, once they figure out who these people are, they give them, I think it's either 72 hours notice or like a week or so to pack their stuff and get out. They're not, it's not like Canada where they'll put them in a hotel and allow them to plea asylum and stick around and make life easy for these people. They're saying you're going to get a plane ticket and you can go somewhere, or a bus ticket, but you're not staying here. The New York governor has openly admitted multiple times that he's shipping people to Roxham Road. He has no issues saying, send them to Canada, get them out of here. We don't want them. And Justin Trudeau says, fabulous, fabulous. Bring them in, boys. Let's keep having crime. Let's keep having cars getting stolen. Let's keep having people living in tents on the streets and urinating in parks and defecating on sidewalks, violence everywhere. Let's totally do that. We're not going to vet anybody. Just come on in. Come on in. Canada needs to start doing the same thing that the US has done, where it's, look, we're not going to spend $100 million putting you in a hotel. You can ask for one plane ticket. We'll fly you anywhere you want to go. But you get on that plane and you do not come back. If they're going to show up here, that should be, it would cost us far less to charter aircraft to get them out of the country than to put them up in hotels. Maybe put them on Justin's plane, where he can order millions of dollars worth of food again and show them just how great life could be if they were able to live in Canada. Right? Let's get them out of here. Odie is saying $100 million. Yeah. Excess of $100 million. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. I had plans this summer. I was going to, well, I still am, but I was going to take my kids to, we're going to Great Wolf Lodge, this kids hotel resort, for summer vacation, because I want to do something fun with my kids this year when we take a little break and wind down. We were originally going to fly out to Niagara Falls. My wife and I have never been. She wanted to see it. We thought, hey, maybe we can rent a car and drive over to New York. Wouldn't that be great? We thought about Niagara Falls. People said, don't come here. This is where all the Roxham Road people are. This is where all the hotels are booked. You can't get hotel rooms. You're going to get assaulted. You're going to get unalived if you go to Niagara Falls. Definitely. Oh my God, don't go to New York. We're not going to New York. My wife has always wanted to go to New York. It's a bucket list for me. The only reason I want to go to New York, I want to see the 9/11 memorial, and I want to go to World of Nintendo, where Nintendo's, main building is essentially. As a fan, that's it. That's the only reasons I would ever want to go to New York. But we're actually going to go to Washington State this summer. I'm going to take my kids to Great Wolf Lodge out in Washington. We'll just do a road trip and drive our way back through the Rocky Mountains. I think it's going to be much better. And of course, my kids are looking forward to that trip. So I am too. I mean, I'm going to want to pop crazy pills and probably get some medication from the liquor store because of the noise, but it's a kids resort. Like, where can you go wrong? 3 kids under 10 years old, of course they want to go there. And it's basically a water park inside of a hotel with some other activities. They'll have fun. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I was told don't go to Niagara. It's going to be a shit show. These asylum seekers claims are BS if they're coming up from the USA. I worked in immigration law. So I agree. The big problem, even from guys like Pierre, of course, he's not going to say anything before an election because he doesn't want to lose points. But nobody is talking about this. Nobody is saying, get him out of here. Enough. All I keep hearing is, well, Canada has the most land and we just haven't built anything. Look, even if we wanted to build things, look at the pace at which the Liberals are doing it. What, 4 houses a month? It's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to keep up with the amount of people coming in here. Shut the doors and say, no more, no mas. Until we fix our problems, until we get our issues solved. If you're not coming here to bring something into the country, you're part of the problem. I don't know if you guys know this. I've talked about this before, that they say 92% of asylum seekers that come to this country are on the welfare system after they're given citizenship or their residency. They go on the welfare system. You and I pay for that. How's that fair? We're going to put in carbon taxes. We're going to raise taxes. We're going to tell disabled people that they can't get more than $6 a day and to just shut up and deal. They're $2,400 a year tax-free, while we're putting over $100 million into asylum seekers to come here and mooch off the welfare system. I don't know about you guys, but I've seen people on the welfare system that have the newest iPhones that don't care that they're on welfare, because welfare here is better than where they're from. People always say, well, you're racist. You don't want these people. You're racist. Look, race does come into it. And again, if I go over to things that Diagolon guys are under fire for these days, they talk about colonization. Now, I don't agree with everything that is being said in that discussion, but when you look at what's happening, there was a very good discussion when they discussed colonization of Japan. And they said, if we go to Japan, Jeremy McKenzie says, let's put it in a situation where I go to Japan, I get into their political system, I become leader of, the country. I start bringing my people over, white people. We come over to Japan. We start to colonize. We start to bring in our families, our friends, everybody. We start introducing policies that only benefit our people, that cause problems for the Japanese. And before you know it, white people overtake their government. More and more white people get voted in as representatives. More and more people start bringing in their family members, moving them over from Canada, moving them over from the United States. That's colonization. When you don't want to adopt what's going on in their country, when you don't want to assimilate, that's colonization. And I'm seeing it more and more in Canada. And this isn't a racial thing. It's an identity problem. If you go into a big box store, if you go into somewhere like a Walmart, all year long, Gay Pride Month, Chinese New Year, Ramadan, they talk about Diwali, they talk about all these things. They have a little section at the back at Christmas time, and they'll say Happy Holidays. You're not allowed to say Merry Christmas because it's offensive. It's associated with religion, and that's what they use as an excuse to say, well, we're not going to say it anymore. Kids aren't allowed to have Christmas concerts at schools anymore because it's offensive. Because the majority of students that are there are from other countries, other nationalities, where it's offensive to them, where they'll come in and say, I moved here from where I came from, but you're going to change how you do things here because I'm offended. We need to start being like America, where we say, well, if you're offended, here's the door. You're free to leave. I don't want to sound like a racist person, because I'm happy if anybody comes to this country seeking a better life, seeking opportunity, that wants to get a job, that wants to assimilate, that wants to be a part of Canadian culture, that wants to adopt the maple leaf as their home and contribute to the success of our GDP, to the success of growing jobs. I'm all for that. But when you come here and say, yeah, Halloween offends me, Christmas offends me, Easter offends me, all your policies, all your usual traditions offend me, change them, get them out of here. Stop doing it. I'm offended. And we go, okay. Why? Well, because we've got milquetoast prime minister in there that wants to virtue signal. Yes, it's all bad. It's all horrible. You look at that giant monolith that went up, I believe it was in Hamilton, that people were complaining about, this big East Indian statue, I believe. I could be wrong. And the argument was, well, it was a privately funded statue put on private land. They own the land. They can do what they want with it. They have the permits. They can do that, but I can't put up a Christmas tree? Big problem. You're saying suspending immigration and deportation in Canada when Pierre gets in is the option to fix the housing crisis. Is deporting immigrants in Canada constitutional? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, look, it's like a burst pipe. Right now, it's like a burst pipe. The water just keeps flowing in, flowing in, flowing in, and our floors are filling up with water. What we need to do is put a stopper in that pipe and say, until we get this flood under control, we can't let any more water in. We can't fix the pipe. That's what I'm saying. Where's everybody going to go? Where's everybody going to work? When 92% of those people live on the welfare system statistically, what are we going to do for them to benefit them coming into the country, aside from bleeding money out of tax-paying Canadians? If anybody wants to offer me a solution, I'm happy to listen to it. I'm very happy to listen to it. Maybe I'm uneducated. Maybe I need a lesson in economics, or axonomics, as I call it with Pierre Poilievre. The problem is, we need people that are going to come to this country that, look, when you look at the United States and the mass migrants that came in from Italy, that came in from Ireland, that came in from the UK, that migrate Germany, they all migrated over to the US in the early 1900s. They wanted more opportunity. They wanted a better life. They assimilated. They didn't come over to America and tell everybody, oh, you're going to change all your policies because we're offended. They became Americans. They got off the ships and they worked and they got jobs and they contributed. They paid taxes. They built roots. You've got migrants that are coming to this country that are leaving because it's too expensive. And the reason it's too expensive is supply and demand. They have nowhere to live. It's too expensive when everyone's flooding here, and as soon as a house becomes available, it's gone. Bidding war. My house, I purchased my home in 2015, and it's almost doubled in value in 9 years. That's insane. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy about that, but that is insane. Where else can you make those kind of returns? And it's all because there's no supply and huge demand. I don't know what else to suggest. The US has way less immigration than Canada per capita. Yeah. 3 student visas from India committing unaliving. We've seen we're seeing student visas going to food banks and taking advantage of that. And I've been told in my comment section that's part of their culture. They don't have shame because they don't care if it's stealing from people or seen as immoral. They don't hold those immoralities. They think that if it's free, it's free. They should have a right to it based on where they've come from. Well, then we should have rules that say, if you're not going to abide by our rules, get out. You're gone. There was a kid in the United States who went to Singapore in the 1990s and he got caned for spray painting something. But we allow students with $98,000 a year jobs to come here and steal from our food banks at a time when our own citizens can't afford to eat. And we say, that's okay. It's no problem. Give me a break. When did we become so weak? Canada, or Derek, what you're saying is not racist. More on economic migrants, here for the handouts, and that's it. Crank out a few kids and it's that is exactly, you've just nailed it, Luca. Thank you. It's exactly what I'm saying. Barefoot and pregnant, and you're getting all these. I have seen some families in stores that got like 8 kids. And you can tell that they're just raking it in. Now, don't get me wrong. People say, well, Derek, they got to buy food for 8 kids. They got to buy clothes for 8 kids. They got to, you got to pay for a home for 8 kids. Yeah, but they get a lot of incentives too from the government for the first couple of years. They get a lot of benefits. And what you don't realize, something that a lot of people don't talk about, especially in politics, a vast majority, not the ones who claim welfare, but the ones who come over here on a visa and then gain citizenship, they hide their money so that they don't have to pay into everything when they first come into the country. And as soon as they get past that period where the government was going to take money from them, they or give them benefits based on the income that they do have, they bring it all over. They bring their money over and now they've double dipped. They've gotten handout benefits from the government in terms of tax levies, in terms of write-offs, in terms of scholarships, in terms of programs, assistance. And then they bring all their money over and say, oh, there we go. The government doesn't need to know about that. That's why you see a lot of people come over from India that are all of a sudden driving BMWs. They have money to do that because the government gives them all these breaks and cuts. And if you think I'm blowing smoke, I know an East Indian family that actually brags to me about how their family members have done it. So unless they're telling me lies, I don't know what else to tell you, folks. I'm glad we can talk about this here. And well, but it needs to be talked about. Do you still think it's possible the Conservatives will win a majority government or super majority, even with mass immigration come election time? Immigration might spike, but the immigrants can't vote unless they're on. I don't understand the full rules on that, but the majority of them can't vote. I'm not worried about. I still think I think look, if you look at the polling statistics, if you look at the Liberals and the NDP don't stand a snowball's chance in hell unless by some divine method they rig the system. And I'm sure we're going to see some of it. Look, they know no bounds when it comes to corruption. I think we'll see it. I don't think we're going to get a super majority. I think we'll see a majority. I think we'll see a majority Conservative government. And hopefully, I really hope to God, Pierre has a plan when it comes to migrants. Because so far, he's giving the implication that it's just going to be business as usual. How do you build the homes and lower the taxes and make things more affordable for Canadians if supply and demand? What people are missing is this isn't about immigrants. It's not about race. It's not about anything other than supply and demand. The inflationary problems that are happening in the country right now are not the result of inflation on house prices. The house prices are going up because so many people are coming here and there's nowhere for them to live, even those that can afford to buy houses. So I'm saying houses go up for sale, they're immediately gone, especially in Calgary. Guy down the street from me put his house up for sale on a Monday morning, and it was gone, conditionally sold by 1 p.m. that day. So 4 hours. 4 hours. And he was asking more than his house was evaluated at. It's definitely a seller's market in Calgary. I don't know about the rest of Canada, but when there's supply and demand driving the price of housing, that's why it's so high. That's why rents are so high. There's nowhere for people to live. There's no houses being built fast enough. As soon as demand goes down, prices will adjust. Now, you're not going to see anything like other people talk about where they say there's going to be a bubble burst. There's going to be a drop where, $500,000, $600,000 houses are suddenly worth $220,000. It's not going to happen. I hate to break it to anybody, but I believe it's roughly 64% of Canadians own their homes in terms of whether they outright own it or have a mortgage on their property. If you're running to be the leader of a country and you're telling those 63% of Canadians that, hey, vote for me to run the country, and by the way, I'm going to build so many homes that your values on your homes are going to diminish to next to nothing, who's going to vote for them? Right? So when Pierre talks about, well, we're going to make things more affordable, I think what needs to happen is one of the key things he talks about is lowering income tax. If you lower the income tax bracket so that people are taking home more of their paycheck, people can afford to buy $700,000 houses because they're bringing home more money. My wife makes almost $80,000 a year at her job, and I don't like making that public knowledge. But the reason I say that is because she only brings home about $38,000 a year after taxes. Half of her money goes to the government. So if Pierre were to lower that, then all of a sudden, hey, you can afford more things. You can afford the higher price of things because you're not paying as much to the government. So I think that's definitely something that needs to happen. Tammy's saying you make more money, you pay taxes, then you save it, and you take out less taxes again. So I had a real rude awakening when it came time to file my business taxes. As a business owner, I take dividends throughout the year, and I try to keep those dividends low because the amount of dividends that I take affects our Canada Child benefit. I took less than $20,000 last year in dividends. My Canada Child benefit this year was chopped in half. And I only took about $2,000 more than I did the year prior. So those $2,000 chopped my Canada Child benefit in half. I said to my accountant, this kind of rules out. Now, I'm just fine without it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna suffer without that half of the Canada Child benefit. But I said, this is where you hear people talking about UBI. This is where you hear about people saying, what's the point in working if the government's just going to give me money? There's no incentive to work harder because as soon as you do, you give that money back anyways. My hot tub technician was here to install a panel last weekend, and I was asking him how business was doing, and he said the same thing. He says, I took X amount of dollars for salary every year. Now, I know he watches the show, so I don't want to say what he was making, but he says, he told me what he made, and he says, I've been making that for 10 years. I've never taken a dime more. He says, this year, because of inflation, because of carbon taxes, I took an extra $8,000 than I took the year before. He says, I owed $16,000 in tax from taking that $8,000. So he says, I lost more money by trying to keep up with today's economy. That's where the problems are, is in the taxation system. We're tax. Where's the motivation to work? This technician told me I'm going to start taking more cash jobs. I've reduced the amount of business I'm doing. We live in a country where people are saying, I'm reducing the amount of business I'm taking on, and I'm reducing my success because I'm punished by the government for it. I have a worse off life from more success as a company owner. How does that work? How backwards is that? That's Trudeauing. If I've ever seen it before, that's wacko, ladies and gentlemen. I can't succeed because I'm punished with taxes. You have to find people who think out of the box or contrarian thinkers. Yeah. Mike TV Dub, I've been saying this for years. Taxation is theft. It's working over 40 hours as of this year, I lose over half my paid hours. Yeah. That's the problem. Daphne, I agree and wish there were a better way. But day by day, we are dying. Last 3 to 4 years are seriously killing us. We've tried everything I can think of. What's left other than that? I look, this is what I see every day in the comment section. This is what I hear whenever I go out. Again, anytime I'm in public. You know, people used to talk about the weather. People used to talk about TV shows. People would talk about all sorts of stuff. Now, when I go out, I don't know about you guys. Everywhere I go, I hear people talking politics. And it drives me nuts because I'm on YouTube all day talking politics. I'm researching politics for videos, and then I go out and people are talking politics. There's no end. But there's no end to this insanity of this country. This is where we are. Something's got to give. Something's got to change. And what has to change is what HonkTube is saying at FJT. I don't want to pander too much on the doom and gloom. Things are going to get better, ladies and gentlemen. Things are going to improve. We have to believe that things are going to improve at some point. I like doing these streams because it gives me a chance to sit with like-minded people. If there's one thing that I appreciate every week, you hear me say it at the end of every video. I always look forward to being in here with you guys to hear what you have to say, because this is a collective of people that are like-minded, that are just as frustrated, to realize that we're not alone in our thinking. And what we see in the polls right now, whether you like Pierre, whether you don't like Pierre, what we're seeing are people that are fed up, people that want change. The more people get active, the more people go out for change, the better life is going to be. And this is where I'm saying you have to do it not just in federal politics, day-to-day life. You have to do it with municipal politics, your provincial politics. If a store is bending you over and robbing you blind, shop somewhere else, even if it's inconvenient. Group together. Start groups online. Build a collective and say no more of this nonsense. No more bullshit. It sounds like a lot. It sounds impossible. But I'll tell you right now, if there's one thing I've learned over the last 2 years, starting out from a guy in his basement that thought we were alone, that thought we were selfish individuals because we didn't want to bow down to the government. When I seen the success of how the Prime Minister stole freedom, and then the community that's been built around YouTube off of that, I've been shown just how wrong I was, that we are definitely not alone, that we're all in this together, and that if we stay together and if we stay positive, even when the cards are not in our favor, you keep an ace up your sleeve and you make it in your favor. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how we are going to beat this. That's how we're going to get ahead. But on that note, we're going to wrap up the stream, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank everybody who came in tonight, all 300 and some odd of you who have been in the stream tonight. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below, share it out if you'd like. Make sure to go back again, watch our content from this week. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, why they don't push it out. If you haven't subscribed to Surviving Canada or Missing Context yet, make sure to head over and do that. You'll find links in our community section on the tab. Again, if you missed the pages earlier on, go pick up your Wacko shirts, ladies and gentlemen, your Wacko designs before they get pulled. I heard an email chime come through. Hopefully that's not the shirt company saying somebody's reported it and it's been yanked off the site. Again, it would be good to see a lot of people wearing those F Wacko t-shirts over the summer. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Keep an eye out on the channel over the weekend. I've got some great content coming your way. And again, keep your eyes peeled next week. Jeremy from the Quartering coming out to chat with us here on the channel. I'm looking very forward to having that video out for you guys again, unless plans change. It will be this week. Stay safe this weekend, you guys. Enjoy the weather. If you're somewhere where the weather is nice, things are getting better. I hope you guys have a great weekend and a great rest of your week.